it is my pleasure to welcome you all back for the second evening of our virtual open house tonight. I'm very excited that you are joining us once again to delve into the next phase of information that we want to bring you about CBA, our student life, our character development, our philosophy and overall mission of our school, which all in all are really the foundation, and you're going to learn a lot of things that will elaborate tonight on what you heard last night from Brother Frank and Mr. Fales and Mr. Noonan. So tonight we are fortunate to have with us Mrs. Maureen Zabluski, who is our Dean of Student Life, and Mr. Matt Meehan, who is our Dean of Students. We are going to go through a brief presentation with you to start out with, and then we will move into some question and answers. Just like last night, we want to make sure that you get all of the value out of this that you possibly can. While we can't have you in person at CBA right now, that doesn't mean we can't share all of this really fantastic information and paint a picture for you through some of our stories as to what CBA can look like for you as you move into, most of you, your 8th grade year next year. Some of you move on to your 7th grade next year, and so start planning out what your high school experience is going to look like. Just a reminder that please keep yourself on mute for the duration of our presentation. That way we can make sure that there's no feedback, that everyone can hear Mrs. Zabluski and Mr. Meehan and are able to enjoy the presentation itself. I have some questions that we will get to at the end of the session that you all emailed to me. Some of you emailed to me, but we also will utilize the chat feature on Zoom so that you can type in your questions there, and we will, I'll pose those questions to Mr. Meehan and Mrs. Zabluski, and we will take care and help you with those questions there. So it's nice to be able to come into your homes like this, and we invite you to kick back and enjoy our presentation this evening. And I am going to hand it on over to Mr. Meehan.
Hey folks, good evening and welcome. Certainly so used to seeing people in person, but I feel blessed that we can at least use this medium to answer questions and give you a feel for the school. As Mrs. Macarella said, my role at CBA predominantly and first and foremost is the Dean of Students. Some people back in the day would call me the Dean of Discipline, but my job is to foster one of the pillars of CBA, which is the ethical development of our young men. First and foremost, we want our graduates to leave as other-centered men who are reflective of gospel values. After all, we are a Catholic, Christian, and as many of you probably heard last night, a Lasallian school, as you see on the screen. So if I were to talk a little bit about what we really want for a man of this academy, as we refer to our juniors and seniors, by the time they graduate, is to reach the best version of themselves. If I were to explain how that authentically happens at CBA, I would have to start by mentioning the purpose that our founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle, born in 1651, what he saw as the purpose of a Christian education. And he suggested very simply, but at the same time powerfully, the purpose of a Christian education is that our students have both a human education and Christian formation. So a human and a Christian education. What does that really mean? The two are interrelated but have distinct components. A Lasallian education is an education where a young man is asked to, number one, begin to identify his God-given gifts and talents, to develop those gifts and talents. As he moves on through a Christian Brothers school like CBA, to start to link those gifts and talents that he's recognizing and honing through his academic work, through his extracurriculars, as Mrs. Zabluski will talk about, to begin to link to them to a possible understanding of his passion, what he's starting to see by junior and senior year, what he may want to pursue and become after he leaves the academy. We want our young men ultimately to exit CBA, not only, of course, intellectually developed, but to understand that intellect in and of itself may or may not contribute to society. We want our boys to become young men so that when they leave, they use those gifts and talents to be of service to the greater society, to become or to develop what we call, and for those young men who are here tonight, for the students themselves, we call our goal really to develop a virtue ethic. And very simply what that means is, virtue means habitually doing the good. Ethic is one's character, one's general approach to life. We want our young men to develop a good, consistent approach to life. How do we do that? You see it on the screen. What's unique about CBA, even in Catholic education? Well, when I first entered into a Lasallian school, the Lasallian High School in Washington, D.C., where I taught and worked for 15 years, what I noticed immediately was we are focused, as LaSalle wanted us to touch the hearts of the students, not just their minds. I think most of you know CBA prides itself in an outstanding academic curriculum. No question, your minds will be developed. But especially for the young men who are here tonight, gentlemen, ultimately, our goal is not only to develop your mind, but to touch your heart. For us to let you know that we care deeply about who you become fully. So if you become the next great engineer, why do you want to pursue engineering? What are you going to do with engineering to make the world around us a better place? How do we touch your hearts? We try to get to know you very personally. Our founder, LaSalle, suggested that teachers should be, rather than up high on a pedestal and student below, that teachers should be like big brothers and big sisters. So one of those second tenets you saw recently there on the screen was that we try to get to know our students personally. I also teach a class at CBA, like all of my fellow administrators. We're teachers first and foremost. Whether you walk in Mrs. Zabluski's history class or my ethics class, or you walk into Mr. Gimbar's math class, you won't walk in without them giving you a hello. How's your day? If you're looking one day down, why the frown? Towards the end of the first few weeks of freshman year, are you going to the Froshmore dance? How many sisters or brothers did you say you have? Where are you from? We pride ourselves on knowing our students more personally. When you know that we care about you on that level, we understand through our 350-year history of Lasallian education that you will want to do your best in that teacher's class, or in that coach's team, or in campus ministry, as Mrs. Zabluski will talk about, in your service projects going well beyond your required hours that you'll hear about. So the expectation of a man of this academy is, yes, that he does his best intellectually and academically, but perhaps even more importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that he does develop great self-discipline in how he treats other people, that he becomes quickly other-centered, not just self-centered. One of the ways I try to help and do my part is I have an open door policy in my office. I'm not the stereotypical mean, scary disciplinarian from a movie. We hold our students profoundly accountable, as you'll hear, but one of the things we tell our students, and I want you to think about right now, is that discipline, it gets a bad rap in society. People hear the word, and what do you think? You think about, you get anxious, you get nervous, running away from mom and dad around the dining room table because you did something wrong and they're chasing you. In reality, Lasallian education here at Christian Brothers Academy is going to suggest to you from day one that discipline rather is a gift from God. One of the greatest gifts from God. And you might say to me, Mr. Meehan, how is that possible? It's possible because when you develop self-discipline, as certainly your parents can tell you first and foremost, when you develop self-discipline, you will reach those God-given passions, those God-given hopes and dreams that I mentioned at the beginning of my intro. So I tend to want to talk, I probably talk in my office, in my function, I probably have a one-on-one meeting with 20 students a day. most of them aren't about discipline. It's the guy to come in and tell me again how bad our Giants were this season. It's the guy to come in and ask me, you know, Mr. Meehan, I'm a little nervous. How do I handle this class? Who should I email first? Who should I contact? I'm worried about a quiz. I'm here, like my colleagues, as a big brother to challenge you to be the best version of yourself, to grow in confidence, develop your gifts and talents, and we do it. And the other piece, I have so much I want to say, but the other piece is getting to know you personally. As I said earlier, trying to touch your hearts. This is what makes us unique. For me, the favorite part of my job is after all our buses roll out at the end of the day, I love to run over to the baseball field to catch the first 3 innings of the baseball game. My students know I care about them in doing that. Or going to Jersey Shore Arena to watch our hockey team get ready to win a state championship as they just did. Being in the stands right up against the glass, knowing that you are a whole person. You're not just at CBA, a student in row 2, desk 3. But most importantly, we want you to become the best version of yourself. So discipline-wise, fundamentally, we challenge you from day one to recognize you should develop self-discipline because you'll represent yourself, your family, and CBA all 4 years, whether in the hallway, in the classroom, or on summer vacation, walking on the boardwalk at Monmouth Beach or Seagirt. In other words, we challenge you to be the best version of yourself, rooted in respect and kindness towards all people at all times. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Meehan. There's no better way to set the stage than to hear you talk about that idea of really growing to be the best version of yourself and how that is cultivated and nurtured as a young man at CBA. I would next like to invite Mrs. Zabluski to take us through our student life program. This is where she lives, down in the weeds at times, within all of our student organizations, our clubs, our activities, our campus ministry, as well with an open door policy herself. And so, Mrs. Zabluski, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So happy to be here with all of you tonight. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and listen to what we have to offer here at CBA. As Mr. Meehan said, part of a LaSallian education is educating the whole person. And that is definitely part of our student life programs. You can come onto our campus at any time, before school, after school, on the weekends, and there's something happening here. We have, before school workouts, we have before school club meetings, we even have before school classes. And the same is true after school. It is a very vibrant, exciting place to be at all hours of the day, and all times of the year. I mean, it's been a little bit different throughout our last couple months, but generally you can find things happening, from January all through. When we look at our student activities, our clubs, and our different organizations on campus, they are designed to meet your needs, the things that students want to do, and really to promote that education of the whole student, mind, body, and spirit. So I'm going to talk about some of those things that we're offering, but I'd like to just point out the first slide that you guys saw tonight had a kind of the motto for student life on the back of a t-shirt, and it's a t-shirt that the freshmen get at their freshman welcome day. You're going to step onto this campus as classmates. You're going to be members of your class. By the time you leave here, you will be brothers, and that's what the t-shirt says. Classmates today, brothers forever. And that's one of the things that we really take very seriously, that we promote the development of those bonds. And if you look at the different categories of student activities, you can see where they address the mind, the body, and the spirit. If you look at our competitive academic activities, and I'm not going to list these, I know there's a slide coming up that has them all for you to see, but those activities are going to be things that are going to build on what you're learning in the classroom. So, future business leaders, the Model UN, mock trial, those are just a few of the competitive academic activities that we offer at CBA to our students. We also have activities that are social and cultural. So it's a place for students to get to know each other and spend time together. We have activities that are service-based. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the service program later, but a lot of the clubs on our campus have a focus on serving others. So for example, Action for Animals, if you look at that, you might say, okay, what's that club about? Well, Action for Animals are students who a couple of years ago came together. They are passionate about the welfare of, animals, whether it's dogs, cats, endangered species. They like to learn about them, but they also do pet therapy. They bring in their pet dogs, their kittens, we had students that had pet rabbits, and they visit nursing homes and really brighten the day of the people that they're visiting. So that's just one example of a club who really focuses on serving others. I think at some point there's going to be a performing arts open house event. So I'm not going to go into tremendous detail about our performing arts program, but just to give you a little bit of information about performing arts, we're really proud of performing our different performing arts activities. Our theater, Pegasus Theater Company, is student run. We have a student board who make most of the decisions. They meet monthly, they discuss the budget, they discuss what play they're going to put on. They, take care of designing the set. All of that is really driven by the students under the wonderful direction of our theater director, Mr. Orozco. We also have a phenomenal music program. They provide opportunities for beginners and for experts. And in a variety of ways. There's the jazz combo, the advanced jazz combo, the pep band, the pit band, the choir, and lastly, is our own pipes and drums, which is pretty unique to CBA. I don't know too many other high schools that have a pipes and drums band, and that is something that we are particularly proud of. For those of you that are interested in writing or like to take photos, you like to do presentations, you like to record events, we have a variety of student-run media organizations. Our yearbook and our literary magazine are both award-winning. We have a digital media program where students will broadcast games, which our alumni are particularly grateful for. And we have a website that highlights all of those things. So if you're interested in learning more about digital media, you can go to the CBA website and follow the link to the student media page. We also have intramural sports. So if you don't have a passion for one of our 18 varsity sports, but you still want to be involved in some kind of physical activity, we have quite a few opportunities for that as well. We have flag football, we have the surf club, we have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we have 3-on-3 basketball tournament through the winter, and then we have a series of all student-sponsored tournaments. So we've done dodgeball tournaments, we've done ultimate frisbee. It's really what the students decide that they would like to promote. And we also have a variety of honor societies. So you can also be a member of the National Honor Society if you meet the requirements, which are pretty, pretty demanding, but that is something to aspire to. We have a World Language Honor Society as well. And finally, my favorite newest club that I would like to mention to you as middle schoolers that are considering CBA is our Adventurers Club, which started just this year. And what that is it's open to anybody, but the goal of the club was to make our freshman students feel welcome. You guys probably come from many different towns, and sometimes we have students who come who are the only student from their middle school, and they don't know anybody. So we really focus on trying to help you find your circle of friends once you arrive here. Who are the guys on campus who share your interests? And one way we do that is through this Adventurers Club. And our moderator is one of our wonderful math teachers, Mr. Reagan. He asks the students, what do you want to do? What would you like to do as an outing? So last year, the guys did a variety of things, including paintball, indoor skydiving. We went to a couple of different restaurants. And the really neat thing about the Adventurers Club is not only do you meet other freshmen who, you know, become your friends, you can also meet faculty. It's open to any faculty or staff that want to go. You can meet students from other grades. So when he puts it out to the CBA community, you know, there may be, you know, I went to Korean barbecue last year with someone who works up in our Fleming Hall offices, our director of advancement. He had such a good time, he went on the next trip to medieval times. So there's this opportunity to really get to meet other people on campus and find other individuals who share your interests. So that's one of my favorite new clubs. The other neat thing about clubs and activities on campus is if you don't see a club and activity that you're interested in, or there's something you're interested in we don't offer, there is a procedure by which you can start it yourself. So I can tell you the surf club, for example, was started at student request. Our rugby team, which is now a varsity sport, was started at student request. So there's a process by which you can add to our club list. If there's something you're passionate about, you get a couple of other students that are also interested, and our faculty are phenomenal about jumping in and helping to moderate new clubs. So if you don't see it and there's something you really think would be something that guys would be interested in, we certainly can look into starting it for you. Moving on from clubs, because I don't want to take too long, I'm going to talk a little bit about the service program. CBA has what we call the Brother Joseph Miggins service program. And this is really so important to all of us here on campus. And it is always amazing how many students far exceed the minimum number of hours. Even during the recent coronavirus stay-at-home order, I had students emailing me to say, what can we do? I saw this. Can we raise money and bring lunches to healthcare workers? Is there someone who needs us to help? And these are things that our students come up with. And that's how I know that this is a really successful program. So I'm not gonna, you know, talk about how many hours are required, because it really doesn't matter. Most of our guys do far more hours, and they do them joyfully, and they really appreciate the opportunity to get out and serve others. And they realize that at the end of it, the one who benefited the most is usually our students, not the people that they're serving. So it's a really amazing opportunity to be supported in going out and doing service. So our campus minister and many of the faculty will lead trips to go to soup kitchens. You know, we cook on campus for a homeless shelter. Our Father's Club also does a father-son service program. So there's all of these different opportunities to perform service and serve and help others. Another key opportunity for service is our service immersion trips. So these trips are usually overnight, and you take yourself off campus and you have an opportunity to really serve alongside different people in need. So for example, we've had trips to the De La Salle Blackfeet School out in Montana. Shorter service immersion trip, which I think is a wonderful opportunity, especially for our freshmen, that maybe Montana is a little bit, you know, too far for your first trip away. We go to the Romero Center in Camden. We have students that go down to Miami and volunteer at the LaSalle Education Center in Homestead. We have students go to Appalachia, to the Appalachian Service Project. So there's all these opportunities right here on campus and off campus for you to be a part of our service program. And most of our graduates generally average over 100 hours of service by the time they graduate, which is far beyond what we are expecting from them. Outside of service, our campus ministry department offers a wonderful retreat program all 4 years. Our seniors have an overnight retreat. And it really gives our young men an opportunity to reflect on their relationship with God. We also offer morning mass every day before school. We have prayer services. Our campus minister will sponsor movie series where, you know, for example, like a Lenten movie series. So there's an opportunity to connect movies to different times of the year. And there's just so many opportunities to be a part of our spiritual life on campus through our campus ministry office. Lastly, I just want to touch briefly on, because I want to give you guys time to ask questions, opportunities that are specifically designed for freshmen. So when you arrive, even before you arrive on campus for your first day of school, Mr. Meehan and I team up and we make you welcome. And we run a program that's called Tips for Success. And we have a blast. We love getting to know you guys, you know, learning your names. You know, and basically what we do you know, we don't have as much time as we would like, because I'm sure you don't want to come to school that many days in the summer, but in the time we have with you, we give you a little bit of orientation. We talk about what it means to be a LaSallian school. We explain some of the things we think you need to know to navigate high school successfully. Things like advocating for yourself, talking to your teachers. How do you email a teacher if you're, you know, have questions about an upcoming quiz or test? We show you what the school looks like. We take you on a tour. We show you where your homeroom is. But most importantly, we show you where our offices are. Because as Mr. Meehan mentioned, we have open doors. Anytime you have a question about anything, we're happy to help you, as are the other administrators and our guidance department, and of course your teachers. But if you have a morning where you're running late and you forget your tie, we can help you out. So yes, we want you to know where to go if you're not sure where to go. You can always start with one of us. We also, once you're on campus, have a freshman welcome day, and part of that day is the freshman run. You've probably heard about it. It's a long-standing tradition here at CBA, and it's kind of a freshman field day. Again, lets you get to know your classmates, lets you get to know the seniors who are coaching you through that day, and some of the seniors, but predominantly the seniors. It's a fun day for everyone involved. And another really important event is Freshman Oath Day. Some of you may be familiar with CBA, and you know that we have an academy oath. And you know, we spend a day talking about what that oath means, what you're promising when you take the oath, and then all of the freshmen sign the oath as a class. And there's actually, you guys actually saw a picture of guys signing their name. That's what that was. That was Freshman Oath Day. So we have all of these special events just for freshmen to help you become bonded as a class and become part of the CBA community. And we really do feel like a community here. We are really connected. And what I was really excited about is how we were able to maintain that community even when we went online. Yeah. You guys probably could tell, you know, stories about online learning and some of the frustrations of trying to, all be on your computers at the same time and the Wi-Fi isn't working right, or, trying to figure out algebra, from a video. And these are all things that, I think most schools might have struggled with, at least initially, until they figured out how to perfect it. One of the things that I was really proud of is our clubs and our teams and our faculty moved to Zoom or whatever platform people were using, and continued those activities through that stay-at-home order. We had award shows for music and theater online. We had kids doing Netflix watch parties that were sponsored by our campus minister. We had a nightly Jeopardy game. We had video games online. So everyone stayed connected, stayed in touch with each other throughout those difficult months. It wasn't the same as being on campus, but it really, to me, showed what a strong community our young men and the faculty as well created here. So I think that's something that I definitely wanted to take the opportunity to mention as we did our presentation here. And I think that's it for me, Ms. Macarellis. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Zabluski, for that overview. I always think it's great to hear just how many things there are to do at high school. Young men, I think you'll find that that's one of the biggest differences between middle school and high school, is the abundance there tends to be at high school of clubs and activities and things beyond sports and drama and music, which are pretty typical in middle school, but the clubs and activities that far surpass what you might have even imagined. So we do have some questions that we'll get started with here, but now I also do invite you all, anybody who has any questions, to please go ahead and use the chat feature. You can write your questions on into the chat feature, and I will read them out so that we can get some answers from Mrs. Zabluski and Mr. Meehan. But Mrs. Zabluski, if you wouldn't mind, what are some of the more popular clubs, maybe, or activities that particularly that freshmen get involved in?
Oh, okay. So I forgot to mention this one. The all-time favorite freshman club is the Ping Pong Club, which Brother Frank moderates. They meet on Fridays, and if you go over there on a Friday in the fall, I've been over there where there've been like 100 kids over there,
Yeah.
ping pong,
Yeah.
In the building across the way, Henderson Hall. A lot of our athletes, if you're, really involved in sports, maybe you're a 3-season athlete and you wonder, how can I get involved in sports? In clubs. We have the SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, which is a great club. A lot of guys are members, and it meets at 5 o'clock or 5:30. So it's after your practice is over. Another opportunity for getting involved in clubs, if maybe after school is a challenge for you because you have transportation issues, you've got to get on the bus to go home, you can't stay after school, or you're involved in a sport, you can participate in clubs during our enrichment period, which is a club period during the day on Wednesdays. So a lot of clubs will meet during that time. A lot of freshmen get involved in Model UN. It's a really good club if you want to be in a club that competes, that goes to conferences and, tries to win the prize at the end of the weekend. Model UN is a good club to get involved in. That one generally involves some work. You have to do research, you have to practice public speaking, and generally they, go to conferences in Boston or Washington, D.C., for example. They also host a middle school conference on campus, so some of you may have gotten the opportunity to check that out, while you were in middle school. If you are interested in music, our jazz band is one of our Period 0 classes, and Period 0 are the classes that take place before school. So they start at 7:30 and go to 8:15. You get credit if you take a period 0 class. So during period 0 right now, we offer jazz band, advanced jazz band, performing arts, and we have robotics and digital media. So all of those offerings are they're classes that you take for credit before the school day even starts. And lastly, something that's pretty popular that's open to rising sophomores and rising juniors is our Global Citizenship Program. And that is a program that, again, gives you credit, goes on your transcript. And there are two kind of different paths you can take there. There's Brothers in Service, which is a service-focused program. You would do research on issues connected to service, issues of like poverty, for example. And you would culminate, that program would culminate at the end with a trip, a major service immersion trip. Another option is our LaSallian Global Scholars. And what that is you do a year-long research piece. So you might attend seminars, you may have field trips to museums or to libraries, cultural events. And at the end of it, that would culminate with a trip abroad. So our last program that we had went to Peru. So the students studied Peru for the entire school year. They did research. They went in to visit a museum and look at art, and they visited Peruvian restaurants. And they had a trip to Peru. And then at the end of all of that, they presented their research and their experiences to their parents and to members of the faculty. And then they were given credit for that experience. So there's a lot of things that happen not just right after school. There's a lot of different opportunities. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to be a member of the track team and I want to be a part of track all 3 seasons, I'm never going to be able to get involved in anything. That's not true. You can. There's things you can do during the school day. There's clubs that meet before school. There's clubs that will meet outside of the practice schedule. So there's a lot of different opportunities to get involved. And you can choose the clubs not only by what you're interested in, but also what you have time to participate. So if you know that you're, and I'm using track just because it's an easy example, if you know that you're going to be a 3-season athlete and you're not going to have an enormous amount of time, but you want to be involved and you want to be a member of the Adventurers Club, you can pick a trip that works with your schedule. You can be a part of Model UN, for example. If you can find a weekend where your sport isn't practicing or playing, you may be able to be a part of a conference, or you may be able to help put on the Model UN conference for middle schoolers. So there's a lot of ways to participate in clubs, even if you are also involved in a sport or another club that involves, is a big time commitment. So if you're a member of the Pegasus Theater Company, that's a big time commitment, right? That's very similar to being the time commitment for a varsity sport. But you can be involved, for example, in the Sci-Fi Club, if that's something that you're interested in. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved and to explore different things, even if you know that you're going to spend time, the bulk of your time is going to be spent on, being a member of a sports team or a major activity like theater.
Thank you. Mr. Meehan, could you tell everybody a little bit about our dress code? And along with that, are there ever days during the year that we have dress down days for the guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Our dress code at CBA, I think, is a really reasonable one. Our guys are wearing khakis or dress pants. They're wearing a solid color button-down shirt. They're wearing a tie of their choosing. They're wearing brown or black leather shoes. During the school day, they're not wearing their easy shoes that they might wear on the weekend. We police that pretty quickly in the beginning. And also, I will add to the dress code our grooming expectations. Again, we want you to be the best version of yourself as soon as possible. And that begins with if you're gonna love others and treat others well, you have to learn how to respect and treat yourself well. So we have, as a part of our overall dress grooming code, we have a requirement. I think the picture that's up on the screen is a pretty good one right now, a freshman that's reflective of that, where your hair is meant to be above your ear, off your collar, and above your eyebrows. So sometimes when I see guys come in and visit a few months before, I'll make a joke with them and say, you know, orientation is September 3rd, so September 2nd, say hello to your barber for me. So we want you to be as professional as possible, be the best version of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. But we think it's reasonable in terms of dress code and grooming. And really, our guys are outstanding at following that code. We all have complacent times a year. Part of my job is to give gentlemen reminders. And 99 out of 100 times when I give a guy a reminder, get that hair cut, you might get 48 hours to get it cut. As our handbook states, it's done. In terms of us, especially for those guys who might be coming in from public schools where you're able to wear whatever you like, we definitely do have dress down days throughout the year. Student government sponsors so many of them. At times, there'll be a dress down day when our students have done a wonderful job. You saw a picture back many slides ago of a food drive. I think this year we brought in 28,000 items for our food drive, and we might reward the student body with a dress down day. So I'd say throughout the year, there's probably Mrs. Zabluski would be even better and give me the number, but probably 6 or so dress down days a year, something along those lines. It goes